So, hi again, Deepak. Hopefully the angle is a little bit better this time. So let's go to the 4 asanas that are perhaps going to be a little bit helpful for you in order to have that little bit of recovery from that spinal issue that you have. So the first one we'll do will be the reclining pigeon. And it's easy to come into this pose maybe from a seated position if you're comfortable to sit on the floor. Otherwise, you can have your legs in front of you, bring the feet onto the floor, knees pointing towards the ceiling. Now from here, I'll do it in both angles so at least you can see what's going on. You are familiar with this pose, but I'll still take you through the guidelines as to how you want to come into the pose, especially because you have those little vulnerabilities in your spine. So I'm going to take my hands behind me and I'm going to stretch both my legs to the front. And then I'll bend my right knee and lift my left heel and place the left ankle onto that right knee. Then I'm just going to walk the hands behind me and then bring my elbows to the floor and then walk the hands in front of me and lower the lower back onto the floor, lower the middle back onto the floor, lower the upper back onto the floor. And I gently then lie back with my head onto the floor. The second part I'll do it from the side. Now, very gently, I want you to use your range of motion for you to lift that right heel and bring the left ankle closer towards the right side of your ribs. So natural range of motion, push the left knee away, pull the right knee towards the chest. Left knee pushes away, right knee comes towards the chest. And you then allow that little bit of work onto the lower part of your lumbar. And if you find that, this is becoming too much, remember that you will lose connection with your toes. So flex both the feet at the same time. You can thread that left hand through and hold that right shin with the other hand. So interlace the fingers around that right shin. Now use the left elbow, push the left knee away and pull the right knee towards you. Chin towards the chest, so extend that spine, the cervical side of your neck. Remember, the neck and the spine are one. So you want to elongate the neck, spine by bringing the chin closer towards the chest. And you stay here. So you want to stay, you want to feel comfortable here. You want to have gravity helping you. And you also want to make sure that you're doing that work. So left elbow pushes that knee away, right shin coming towards with the help of the thread or interlace fingers, right knee coming towards the right part of your chest, left knee being pushed away by the left elbow. Stay here. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. On the exhalation, once again, flex the feet, release the interlace if you have it, and then allow the right foot to come onto the floor, and then bring the left foot back onto the floor. So I'm just going to swivel around. You don't have to, but I'll show it to you from the side. So I'm now going to do the same thing on the side, so you see a side angle as to what's happening. Now look at the shoulders, look at the hips, they're all together. Okay, so in other words, in one line. You don't want to be doing this, you want to be lifting. You want to lift, then allow both the legs to slide to the front. This time, bend the right knee and then have the right knee above that left ankle. Then bring the left heel in. Then take the hands to the back. Then walk the hands slightly further behind you, fingers facing the back. Turn the fingers around and allow the elbows to come onto the floor. Then the lower back, followed by the middle back and followed by the upper back, and then you are firmly onto the floor. And your head is resting. Now, chin is away at the moment, which is not a good idea. You want to elongate that spine by bringing the chin closer towards the chest. Once you do so, you then allow yourself that availability of the spine to actually rest onto the floor. Once that spine is steady, you then want to lift the left heel off the floor. Then use your natural range of motion of your hips in order to bring that left knee closer to the left side of your ribs and the right knee closer towards the right side of your ribs. This is your natural range of motion without having any of your arms or hands helping you. Flex the feet on both the sides. If you feel that this is becoming intense, then of course you can thread that right hand through, hold the left shin, left hand comes across, interlace the fingers, then use that in order to create that movement that you want. So flex the feet, bring the left knee closer, use the right elbow to push the right knee away. Left knee closer, right elbow pushes the right knee. So make sure you don't look towards anywhere else. Chin once again towards the chest. The neck will keep on adjusting. When the neck will try and shorten, you want to elongate it by bringing the chin closer towards the chest. You can see or you can hear my voice getting a little bit hoarser purely because I'm bringing my chin closer towards the chest. This is what you want. So the cervical spine is extended. Your lumbar is working at the same time. Your thoracic spine is taking the brunt of you trying to bring that left knee closer towards you and right knee away from you. Staying here. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And very gently release. If you're holding the interlaced hands, release the left foot to the floor. Release the right leg to the floor. Though I didn't do it on the other side, you can lift the right leg if you can, rotate it if you can, and then rotate in the opposite direction at your hips. You don't have to, but it just releases the hips at the same time, and then gently lower the right foot to the floor. Well done. Now from here, we're going to the next pose from here. So make sure you have a couple of bricks available and also, or maybe a bolster at the same time. I have that on the side here. I'm just going to bring the bricks in. So we're going into Setu Bandhasan, which is a bridge pose. So you're already on the floor. So ideally, what you want to do is have a couple of observations. Both the knees are in line with the ankles. So you don't want the knee closer like this. There's no need to do this. What you really need to do is make the knee available in line with the hip. Now, ideally, what we want to do is to lift upwards, and I'll show you that in a second. But what you really want to do is to have an availability of the brick in case that the spine or the lumbar says, too much work, I don't want to do this, or you feel that little bit of work going on and saying it's too much for you to lift a little bit higher. Now, what you want to do is to bring the palms onto the floor first, press the palms to the floor, press the feet into the floor, and just lift, gently roll the hips up, just the hips. Then you roll the lower back up, then you roll the middle back up, and then you roll the upper back up. And ideally what you want to do is to bring the hip bones in line with the knees. Now, because of the vulnerability of the spine, let's not work on that at the moment. That's the ideal pose. What you want to do is to keep on lifting the hips, and then you want to stay here. You feel that little bit of work going on. So now take the weight onto the left side of your shoulders, roll the right shoulder blade in. Take the weight onto the right side of the shoulder, bring the left shoulder blades in. Now push the feet in and see if you can go a little bit higher. From here, you want that little bit of assistance. So take that brick and place it, push the feet in and bring it under your sacrum. So that gives you that little bit of relief from the active pose to a passive pose. So now the sacrum is holding its place onto the brick. Release the arms and take the arms maybe to 45 degrees, palms facing the ceiling, chin towards the chest, and you feel a lot of work going on around the sacrum area. So what are your bones doing? You want to push the feet into the floor, although you're elevated. Feel the chin closer towards the chest, and then see if you can just close the eyes and rest here. The spine's doing a lot of work, although it's supported. Now, there is an option, of course, if you feel that that brick is too hard, then always use the the bolster. I'm not using the bolster now, but if you're using the bolster because it's available in order to, let's say, squeeze with your gravity and the weight, then have a block or brick underneath the bolster, elevate the bolster, so then you can push the lumbar part of your spine towards the ceiling. You stay here as to however long you want to, maybe a few minutes, 3 or 4 minutes will be sufficient, I suppose. And then what you really want to do is to make sure that that spine, the lower lumbar part, is really working. Staying here, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Now to come out, you can be very careful. Push the feet into the floor, lift the hips slightly, maybe half an inch, slide the hand underneath, take the brick away, and the lowering part is equally as important. Lower the upper back first, lower the middle back, and then the lower back gently on the floor, and then finally the hips coming onto the floor and resting. Push the hips towards the heels and stay here. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Very gently cross the ankles, and if you can, lift up, come to a seated position, and then turn around. So 2 recline positions, now 2 positions where we go to the front. Okay, so what we want to do is to make sure that everything is now, let's say, a little bit more functional than perhaps it was. So feel that little bit of ease into your posture, and you say, well, this is what I want to do. Okay, so now come on to your hands and knees. So you're in all fours, and you can't see me from the front, so you want to be on 4s, hips in line with the knees and hands in line with the wrists. So I'll turn around. So ideally what we want to do is to just walk the hands in front from the hips, being stable. The hips are in line with that, and I'll just walk or squeeze my arms or slide my arms in front of me, slide the palms in front of me, and I want to bring the chest onto the floor. I want to bring the chest onto the floor, not the chin. I want to bring the chest onto the floor, not the chin. So open the armpits as much as you can, and then see if you can bring the chest closer towards the floor. Allow the back of the feet to push into the mat, push the shins into the mat, and allow the chest to come towards the floor. If the chest doesn't come onto the floor, that's fine. Then see if you can bring the chin closer towards the floor. Notice my hip and knee are in one line still. I'm not taking them forward. I'm not taking them back just to achieve the pose. The idea is for you to have that spinal stretch. Puppy pose. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Very importantly, lift the elbows, bring the right hand underneath the shoulders. Lift the left elbow, bring the left hand under the shoulders. Very gently lift up. Right, so from here, and you can do it from the puppy pose, but I suggest you come up to this, and you now want to come into your cobra pose, your bhujangasana. So I'll do it from the front, and I'll then also do it from the side. The idea in bhujangasana is to make sure that the hip and the knee are in line. So I'm going to walk the hands forward now. I'm going to walk the hands forward. I bring my elbows onto the floor. I walk my chest forward, and I bring my belly to the floor, and I gently bring myself into a Sphinx pose first. So the elbows are beneath the shoulders. So don't have the shoulders in front of the elbows. So if I showed you from the side, quite difficult. So most of us tend to have the shoulders in front of the elbows. You want to lift, so it creates a little bit of a back bend, and then you want to make sure that that's happening before we go into bhujangasana. All right, so elbows in line with the shoulders. Now, very gently, bring the hands to where the elbows are. Right hand comes to where the right elbow was. Left hand comes to where the left elbow was. Squeeze the elbows inwards and gently lift if you can. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So the hips are on the floor, knees are on the floor, thighs are on the floor. Staying here. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Now if you feel particularly adventurous maybe on a day and you think, the weather's nice, I'm warm, what I could do is gently just lower down and take my hands a little bit wider onto your fingertips and gently lift. A lot of work going on to the spinal area. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Gently lower the chest and the stomach towards the floor. Walk the hands underneath the shoulders. Squeeze the elbows towards the ribs. Look to the front and then push up one more time. And if you can, straighten the arms. Hips are on the floor. Thighs are on the floor. Knees are on the floor. Cobra pose, Bhujangasana. An extremely, extremely challenging pose. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. On the exhalation, gently lower down. Bring the forearms in front of you. Lower the head, forehead onto the forearms. Bring the big toes together. Allow the heels to go out to the back. Crocodile pose to finish off with, allowing that lower back, the lower part of your lumbar, to finally settle down. Hip bones touch the floor, both the hip bones to the front. Thighs are on the floor, big toes touching, heels go outwards, and then finally, as a counter, you then take the heels closer together and allow the feet to go out at 45 degrees. So the inner part of your blades are facing the floor, heels touch each other. 5, that releases the spine at the back. 4, 3, 2, 1, and gently release, and the heels and toes are both in line. Bring the hands underneath the shoulders, very gently tuck the toes in, lift the knees, and then come to your seated position. Walk the hands back, and you finish off in Vajrasana. Om Shanti. Thank you.